The storm appeared suddenly, dark clouds rolling over the horizon like a hungry beast. Captain Elias Reed held the wheel of the SS Mariner, his weathered hands steady despite the chaos around him. The ocean roared, waves crashed against the hull, and the ship groaned in protest. He had sailed these waters for years, but this storm was unlike anything he had faced. As the winds howled, a sudden jolt threw him against the wheel. The ship lurched violently, and before he could regain his balance, a massive wave crashed over the deck. The world went dark. When Elias awoke, time seemed to freeze. The sun hung high in a blue, cloudless sky. He lay on warm sand, the sound of gentle waves lapping at the shore. Confused, he pushed himself up and looked around. The island was lush and colorful, with palm trees swaying gently and flowers blooming in bright colors that seemed almost unreal. The air was thick with a sweet, spicy smell, cinnamon. "Hello," he called, his voice rough. "Is anyone here?" To his surprise, a group of islanders stepped out from the foliage, their faces warm and friendly. They wore brightly colored clothing and smiled as they approached. One woman stepped forward, her dark hair flowing down her back. "Welcome, sailor," she said, her voice pleasant. "You are safe now. We have been waiting for you." Elias felt a flicker of hope. "Where am I?" "The island of Cinnara," she replied, extending her hand. "I am Lila. Come, we will take care of you." Over the next week, Elias was enchanted by the island. The people were kind, treating him like family. They shared meals of exotic fruits and fresh fish, always seasoning their dishes with the fragrant spice that seemed to fill the air. He spent days exploring the lush jungle, and nights were filled with laughter and music beneath a blanket of stars. But as the days passed, an uneasy feeling grew in his stomach. He noticed strange things. The islanders talked in low voices when he approached, and their smiles sometimes turned to concern. One evening, he overheard them discussing a storm that had not yet come, a storm they seemed to fear deeply. "What are they afraid of?" he asked Lila as they watched the sun set. "They fear the shadows," she said, her eyes darkening. "The island protects us, but it demands a price." Elias felt a chill. "What kind of price?" "You will learn in time," she said mysteriously, turning her gaze to the horizon. The next day, a ship appeared on the distant waves. Elias's heart raced as he saw the familiar shape of a rescue vessel. He rushed to the shore, waving frantically. The islanders gathered around him, their joy turning to panic. "No," Lila cried, grabbing his arm. "You cannot leave." "Why not?" Elias demanded, his heart racing. "This place is amazing, but I need to go home." "The island will not let you," she said, her voice shaking. "You must not go." As the rescue ship drew closer, Elias felt a strange compulsion to stay. It was as if the island itself was pulling him in, wrapping him in its sweet embrace. But he fought against it, driven by a need to return to the familiar world he had known. When the rescuers finally reached him, Elias felt a rush of relief. He was safe at last. "Get him aboard," the first mate shouted, pulling Elias up the ladder. The crew's faces were filled with concern, and they looked back at the island, which loomed ominously in the distance. "Where is this island?" one crew member asked. "We've never seen anything like it." "It's right there." Elias pointed, but when he looked back, his heart sank. The island was gone. All that remained was an expanse of empty ocean. "What do you mean?" the first mate asked, eyes narrowing. "There's nothing there." Elias felt a chill creep over him. "It was right there. I swear it." The crew exchanged doubtful glances. As they sailed away, Elias felt a deep sense of loss. He turned back to stare at the waves, searching for any sign of the island, the people, and the sweet scent of cinnamon that clung to his clothes. Days turned into weeks after his rescue. He tried to explain to anyone willing to listen about Cinnara, but they dismissed him as delusional, a man traumatized by a shipwreck. The scent of cinnamon lingered on his clothes, a haunting reminder of what he had lost. One night, unable to shake the feeling that something was very wrong, Elias returned to the docks where his ship had been moored. He met with a local historian named Evelyn, who had shown interest in his story. "Tell me again about the island," she urged, her pen ready over a notepad. Elias recounted every detail, the beauty of the place, the kindness of Lila, the delicious food, but he also talked about the shadows and the warnings. Evelyn's expression shifted from curiosity to concern. There are legends about islands that appear and disappear, she said softly. Some say they are places where time stands still, where people are trapped. Trapped? Elias echoed, unease settling over him. Those who go there may never return, or they may return changed, she continued. But the cinnamon, that's what's unusual. It's not just a scent, it's a marker. People who say they've been to such islands often carry its essence with them. Elias shivered. What does that mean? She leaned closer, her voice barely above a whisper. The essence can bind you to the island. It may be trying to call you back. Panic surged through him. I can't go back. I don't want to. But even as he said it, an insistent pull in his chest grew stronger, a longing that was becoming harder to ignore. That night, Elias lay in bed, tossing and turning. The scent of cinnamon filled his senses, and he dreamt of Cinnara. In his dream, the island was lush and vibrant. The people were smiling, and Lila called his name, her voice sweet and inviting. When he awoke, he found himself standing on the shore, the ocean waves crashing at his feet. The sun was setting, casting a golden glow over the water. He looked around, confused. How had he gotten here? Elias, a soft voice floated through the air. He turned to see Lila standing nearby, her figure lit by the fading light. You came back. I didn't want to, he stammered. But even as he spoke, the island's pull was stronger than ever. You belong here, she said, moving closer. Don't fight it. The shadows will protect you. Elias hesitated, torn between two worlds. The island was beautiful, but there was a sense of dread he could not ignore. He thought of the stories he had heard, of people who vanished, never to be seen again. Lila, I can't. But before he could finish, the shadows around them began to shift and swirl, dark tendrils creeping toward him. He felt their cold grip on his mind, pushing him to surrender. The scent of cinnamon surrounded him, intoxicating and overwhelming. No, he shouted, fighting against the pull. I won't let you take me. With a surge of strength, he broke free from the shadows and ran down the beach. The islanders watched in silence, their faces a mix of concern and understanding. He ran until he reached the water's edge, the waves crashing violently around him. He could feel the island's power fading, the shadows retreating, but he knew he had to escape. With one last glance over his shoulder, he dove into the ocean, the cool water washing over him. As he swam away, the scent of cinnamon faded into the distance. The island disappeared from sight, but its beauty and darkness lingered in his mind. Days later, Elias stood on the docks once more, the familiar scent of salt water filling his lungs. He looked out at the horizon, the sun rising with a promise of a new day. But he knew Cinnara would always be with him, a haunting memory etched in his soul. As he walked away from the shore, a faint whisper of cinnamon followed him, a reminder that some islands never truly vanish. They linger in the shadows, waiting for the next sailor to find their way home.